Welcome back to Beacon Light, and we are on episode 2, and this one is Concept and Composition, and we're featuring as our main file for the day, Ticket for the Dead. It's not the only file I'm going to talk about. We can see a few more along the top bar here, but that's going to be our main one. Last time, when I was talking about Foudros, I was talking about how if I'd been planning to do the background properly, I would have needed to do a lot more concept work, a lot more thinking around how I did it. Because that one, the background was extremely simple, and I was just able to kludge it into place. However, there is a real difference between what I was doing there, which is drawing a character in a void and then filling in some background around them, versus actually drawing a scene. So now we're going to look at me drawing a few scenes. It is really easy to just jump in, draw the character that you have the idea for, and then just go, oh, I'll fill in the scene around it, it's fine. However, that is almost certainly a mistake. You'll find that the perspective won't flow as easily. You'll find that it's really easy to have your areas of focus be muddled, to get your composition muddled, your lighting muddled, and your perspective, to be honest, is the key thing that I find gets balked. Later on, I'm going to do a video that sort of compares art that I've done with a concept and art that I haven't, where I've just gone, you know what, it's fine. Screw it, it's fine, whatever. For me, I find that the most important thing coming into the piece is to have impetus. I don't like to go into a piece and just be like, I want to draw a character. That isn't anymore going to work for me. I want to be drawing something a bit more beefy than that, where I might be thinking about a cool moment, like this. I might be thinking about a shitpost. I might be thinking about a character dynamic. I might be thinking about a summation. I might be doing all sorts of things. The thing that I tend to do if I'm out of ideas is I collide ideas. So here we've got, I wanted to draw a modern AU, and then I collided that with the idea that I wanted to sketch out a really complicated background. So I did that. The thing here is that concepting is work. Art is not just open canvas, draw on canvas. It is very much a thing of there is a need to think about it beforehand, even if it's literally for 2 seconds, even if the idea just pops into your head. Personally, I'm a really visual thinker. I find it quite easy to come up with a concept in my head and to refine it in my head. By the time I'm looking at the sketch, like here, we can see that I've already basically got the idea down. One of the pieces of advice that you often get with this kind of thing is a thumbnail, and that's where you take a little space and you very, very roughly sketch out the vital things. That is a very useful thing. I use it on occasion. The thing that I tend to use it more for is 1, if I don't have any ideas at all, or 2, if I have too many ideas and I want to know which one is the best. There's a commission that I did recently where I had 2 rival compositions in mind, but I couldn't make one of them work in thumbnails, which tipped me to using the other one as the final piece, and it turned out great. It isn't essential to thumbnail. If you are like me, very visual, you may find, especially if you're not, that it is helpful because it will help you get the basic relation of shapes correct. Art, in the end, is all about shapes. It's about figuring out what combination of shapes draws the eye in the way that you want it to. It's about having a piece that makes a harmonious whole that really does the thing that you want it to do, that gets your point across. And the composition, the environment is absolutely key to that. You want it to be harmonious. The concern that I have when I'm doing art is I think, what am I trying to draw? What is the most important thing about this? What mood am I going for, etc. So in this one, this is like a gritty war film screenshot. This is war photography here. That's the mood I'm going for. We have the area of greatest focus. I'm sure you can guess it is this mech, which was a big unexpected thing. We have this interrogation. Here we wanted this sense of subtle menace. This is a bit more noir flavored. Where's the area of focus? It's on Factor, who is being subtly defiant here. And then this one, this is a lot sadder as a sort of thing, and that sadness is mostly conveyed by the posing of Kwai. Again, we can see this area of high contrast is our focal point of the image. It is at the heart of what it's about. Kwai is being sad in their kitchen. Knowing what I'm trying to draw will determine the focus point, it will determine the style, it will determine the lighting, the composition, the posing. They all sort of come together. I waffled a lot on what image to use to talk about this, especially since I want to do these. This is part of a series, and I want to do this series as a separate thing, talk about how I did them, why I did them, and so on. But I picked it anyway because it is a really great example of something with very few moving parts. It's stark, it's well concepted, it's simple, and it does exactly what I want. There's nothing extraneous about this at all. So what is it? This is the title card for episode/session 20 of Gun: A Family Affair, which is a game that I did, and then I drew title cards as though it was a fake TV show. There's 4 moving parts in it. We have the train. This is a ghost train. Aboard it is a revenant who we have been hired to get off the train. We have the title. We have the sky, and we have the figure of Peregrine here with an axe. And what's the most important part of this image? It is the relationship between the axe, the character, and the train. So that is happening here in this area of highest contrast. How did I start, though? This is the finished image. How did this get started? It was part of a series. The series dictated a lot of the stylistic things. I knew that I was working with this very stark black work. I knew that I was working with this very sort of stylized sky. I knew what the titles would look like, and I knew roughly the color palette. These harsh blacks and then the light only coming from the sky. I did struggle a lot with this one, but it ended up being one of the strongest ones because I sat down and I concepted it out. You can see a different one that I did where the concept that I had originally was very strong, but it failed on the mood because it was letting the light be on the figures. That is not consonant with the mood of the series. Instead, I ended up doing a thumbnail and then redoing it with this one, where we've very much still got that stark, dark back foreground to keep the mood going. So the game was a gothic western, basically. It had plenty of horror themes, and what I wanted with this image was I wanted to make the train be ominous. So here, it's overshadowing. It's the whole image, the camera is very low, the horizon line is about here, it's right at the bottom of the image, so the camera is looking up both at the train and at Peregrine, and what that does is it makes the train seem ominous, which is also helped by the fact that I've got these very simplified windows and people within the windows, which give almost a stylized impression of prison bars. So we've got this very ominous look, and it's dominating half of the piece in this very harsh black. And then I wanted Peregrine to look powerful. Again, that's helped by the looking up. And Peregrine also dominates this side of the screen, with a little bit of dynamism added by the billowing skirt and the billowing hair. In terms of leading the eye, this one's quite nice. We've got a very smooth line going, with the breaking point in the line being that area of high contrast where the eye does need to come to rest on the axe. We also have a lot of negative space for the title. That's another thing that's a bit less strong even about the final version of the Birdwatcher job, is that the title is kind of up in the corner, and it's not particularly well planned out. But this one was tricky because Birdwatcher Job is a really clunky series of words, so I'll forgive myself a little bit for that. I'll forgive myself for a lot of art mistakes. Art is a lot of forgiving yourself. You just have to be at peace with the fact that you're never going to be 100% satisfied. I could point out flaws in this one. I love this piece, but I could point out flaws. I'm not going to. I am not doing that. Yes, the point here was anybody except for Peregrine getting onto this train would not have got off, which is why it was so very crucial to have this impression of power as well as the ominous impression. And it ended up really simple, really eye-catching. So if we think about these sort of principles and look at the other pictures, what have we got going on? Here we've got the most important thing here being the peril of Alexander in this mech. We've got a line going along here and then inexorably leading up. On this one, we've got the key dynamic being between the two characters. So we've got the line of the squirrel's helmet heading towards Factor, as well as Factor's eye line up towards the squirrel. And then we've also got this area of bright light sort of surrounding Factor. For this one, our perspective lines are actually heading inwards. We've got the line of this fridge heading towards Quai's eye level, and we've got the sort of the bright white of the sky behind the apartment building, just framing their face and getting this very sort of much more interesting dynamic shape in quite a dark frame. So that's a few slightly muddled up thoughts about concept and composition. I hope they're helpful. I hope that they're interesting to you. We'll talk a lot more about concept and composition as we go forwards on the basis that it is the foundation point of most good art. If you don't, in my experience, if you don't know what you're going to draw before you start your sort of final piece, any amount of concept work you do before that, fully reasonable. But if once you're saying, this is the file that I'm using, this is what I'm building up into what is going to be visible, and you don't have a good idea of what that's gonna come out like, I find that doesn't work so well. The idea can come from, I've drawn a bit of this before, or it can come from, I have it in my head. It doesn't really matter, but having the concept beforehand is really helpful in terms of getting this harmonious look. Thank you very much. I hope that all of your artistic and other forms of projects are going very well. Please do like, comment, and subscribe if you are enjoying these. There will be more. I have apparently infinity amounts of old art. Farewell.